Hello, and welcome to Overlooked Headlines. We're the podcast designed to share headlines from America and around the world that have been disregarded or overlooked, but are critical to our lives and well-being. It's our mission to inform with the headlines and then inspire through biblical words, which we call His Lines, that once heard and applied will help to strengthen our faith in God as we navigate this journey called life. Now, here's the host of Overlooked Headlines, Jeff Bass.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Overlooked Headlines. I'm Jeff Bass. Let me thank you for your continued support of this podcast. Stay connected with us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. Please follow us on Instagram, leave your comments, and share. By the way, if you like the content we provide, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link on the Overlooked Headlines Instagram profile. Now, here's our headline breakdown for this week. Fauci promoting a future COVID or flu pandemic. A guest blows Joe Rogan away with terrifying transhumanism warning. The global elites practice for a cyber pandemic. And as always, we close with his lines. Here's our first headline. Fauci promoting a future COVID or flu pandemic. Anthony Fauci has resurfaced with a grim warning. Another lab-engineered pandemic is coming. At the New Orleans Book Festival, Fauci declared the next outbreak will be of a respiratory disease that's easily transmissible, that has a significant degree of morbidity. He went on to say, what is likely to happen, I don't know if it's going to be next year or 10 years or 15 or 20 years from now, is the emergence of another respiratory disease. It may be another coronavirus because we know that coronavirus is really mostly in bats have the capability of binding to receptors that are in humans. He said it could be another flu. We're dealing with H5N1 now, which is bird flu, which has taken the somewhat disturbing step of infecting mammals, namely cows and cats and other mammals, which means it's adapting itself more to a human. So he said his concern is that whatever that happens, the next outbreak will be of a respiratory disease that's easily transmissible, that has a significant degree of morbidity and integrity. To skeptics, this was no scientific forecast. It was a taunt. Fauci, who funded bat coronavirus experiments in Wuhan, now dangles the specter of H5N1 bird flu mutating to target humans. His timing is telling, as congressional probes and independent researchers expose his role in unleashing SARS-CoV-2. Fauci pivots to fear-mongering and future pandemics. In 2014, the Obama administration banned gain-of-function research, a reckless practice that mutates viruses to enhance lethality. Yet Fauci skirted the moratorium by funneling $600,000 of taxpayer money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Emails show Fauci's team coached WIV scientists to obscure their work, rebranding it as virus surveillance. This wasn't science. It was a bioweapon development, argues molecular biologist Dr. Richard Ebright. As Fauci teases the next outbreak, America must decide, is this a prophecy or a threat from a man who turns science into a slaughterhouse, he says. With globalists like Bill Gates echoing Fauci's pandemic treaty, demands the stakes transcend COVID-19. This is about erasing medical freedom forever, destroying medical ethics and medical science. Our second headline, a guest blows Joe Rogan away with terrifying transhumanism warning. Biotech entrepreneur Ben Lamb painted a bone-chilling picture of where humanity could be headed on an episode of Joe Rogan. Gene editing was at the heat of the conversation, and according to Lamb, China isn't just experimenting with it. They've already created genetically modified children. That's right. He pointed to a now infamous case in 2018 when a Chinese scientist announced that he had cloned human embryos and edited their genes using CRISPR to make them resistant to HIV. The news shocked the world and led to widespread condemnation. He was later sentenced to prison for violating scientific ethics and conducting unapproved procedures. But Lamb warned it doesn't stop there. He said there's a growing debate over whether those same embryos were also edited for enhanced intelligence. The science is still inconclusive, but the intent, he claims, is very real. Lamb pointed to BGI, Beijing Genomics Institute, as a key player in this effort. He claimed that during the COVID-19 pandemic, BGI offered free testing to countries around the world, not just out of goodwill, but to harvest their DNA at scale. They're like, he said, we'll do all the COVID testing for free. Just send us your data. However, BGI has drawn global scrutiny. A 2021 Reuters investigation revealed that the company's prenatal tests taken by millions of women globally were being used to collect genetic data for the Chinese military without proper consent or oversight. Lam alleges that BGI has publicly stated its mission is to sequence as much of the global population as possible in search of genes tied to intelligence and act on the findings. They are openly saying we are sequencing as much as we can of the world population looking for genes for intelligence, he told Rogan. That's not a hidden thing. If one country starts genetically modifying its population, others won't stand by and watch. It'll set off a global arms race, not with missiles or drones, he said, but with DNA to see who can engineer the smartest, most advanced generation of humans on the planet. And once that race begins, there is no going back. An interesting story. Stay where you are. I've got more overlooked headlines coming up.
Still to come, our top headline. And don't miss his lines right here on Overlooked Headlines.
Now, here's our top headline. The global elites practice for a cyber pandemic. Recently, political commentator Candace Owens released a short video entitled, "The WF is running drills on the power grid going down." What would you do, she says, if they brought the power grid down? And by they, I mean if the government purposefully brought the power grid down. I'm not asking that question for fun, she said. I'm asking that question because the World Economic Forum is predicting that a cyber pandemic is inevitable. First and foremost, the only reason I'm paying attention to the WEF and their exercises is because they notoriously in 2019 ran an exercise for a coronavirus pandemic that oddly all became true. It was the World Economic Forum in collaboration with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in collaboration with Johns Hopkins University. They said the coronavirus is inevitable, and boom, it happened the very next year. They made the prediction, they called it inevitable, and then it happened immediately, she said. So that signals to me that I should probably pay attention the next time the WEF makes a prediction and calls it inevitable. And lo and behold, they are predicting that a cyber pandemic is going to happen and that it is once again inevitable. If you look into the exercise that they'll run this year, she said she believes they're running in July. Essentially, their idea is that they're going to have to sanitize the internet because a bug, think of it as a coronavirus for your computer, is going to sweep globally. And the only way they're going to be able to stop this bug from infecting everything is to effectively shut down the internet. And they were talking about bringing down the power grid in order to do this. Think about the repercussions of losing the power grid, she says. It astounds me how few people understand what life would be like without electricity. It seems too many people are flippant or dismissive of the potential hardships. Most have the attitude of, we'd go back to the 1800s, big deal. People lived just fine back then, but without power, we wouldn't regress to the 1800s, she says. We'd go back to the 1100s or earlier. Life would become bitter, a brutal struggle for survival, and society thrived in the 1800s for four simple reasons. A non-electric infrastructure already existed. People had skills, knowledge, and tools to make do. Our population levels were lower, and most people lived rural and raised a significant portion of their own food. And fourthly, there were relatively few people who didn't earn their way. To be blunt, if you didn't work, you seldom ate. Those who couldn't work, the disabled, the elderly, and etc., were cared for by family members or charitable institutions. There were no other options. These conditions no longer exist. Homes don't come equipped with outhouses, hand water pumps, and a trained horse stabled in the back. Many people don't have the faintest clue how to cook from scratch, much less grow or raise their own food. As a matter of fact, 80% of Americans live in cities and are fed by less than 2% of the population, which means farmers must mass produce food for shipments to urban areas. Additionally, the interconnectivity that exists in today's society is complex beyond belief. It's been proven again and again that a single weak link can bring down the whole chain. And yet, some people claim that a grid down situation will be a minor inconvenience. They think that because they line dry their clothes and have a few tomatoes on their patio, that they'll be able to survive a situation in which all services cease. They also think food production and distribution is somehow independent of fuel and electricity. In fact, it's intimately connected. Have you ever tried to till a 3,500 acre wheat field by horse-drawn plow, shut off power, and you shut off food, period? It's true that we already possess the know-how for technological and medical advances, but what would we lack is the infrastructure to rebuild the infrastructure. Think about that. We would lack the stopgap services that would allow engineers and manufacturers to rebuild society without facing starvation first. And if the people with the specialized knowledge to rebuild die off in the interim before the infrastructure gets rebuilt, then where will we all be? It's estimated that 90% of Americans would die in the aftermath of a grid down. For these reasons and more, it behooves us to take this upcoming cyber pandemic exercise by the World Economic Forum seriously. We'll keep you abreast of this situation. Don't move. His lines are coming up.
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode, then we'll think you'll love connecting with us on our social media platforms as well, because we post frequent news bites, tips, and alerts to keep you informed and inspired. Now, let's get back to more overlooked headlines with Jeff Bass.
Now it's time for His Lines, where we take a closer look at these headlines from a biblical perspective, taken from the Bible, God's Word. We live in a world that has commercialized Easter as much as it has commercialized Christmas. Just as Santa Claus is the world's symbol of Christmas, the Easter Bunny is the world's symbol for Easter. From candy commercials to battery commercials, American businesses continue to capitalize on the symbol of the Easter Bunny. Other than totally not being biblical, the problem with the Easter Bunny is not in what he says, but what he doesn't say. The bunny doesn't give us a true picture of the real meaning of Easter, which we as Christians know is the resurrection. So let me share with you two things that the bunny won't tell you about this special day that you need to know to get a full understanding and appreciation of the resurrection. First, the bunny is silent about the price of the resurrection. What the bunny doesn't tell you is that the price has already been paid for us to enjoy the resurrection. The ultimate price is seen in John 3:16, which reads, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him, Jesus, shall not perish but have eternal life." What a price. Secondly, the bunny is silent about the power of the resurrection. The resurrection is a day when the power of God is demonstrated. There have been those who have been raised from the dead. As a matter of fact, Jesus himself brought at least 3 people back from the dead. However, everyone else but Jesus died again. Jesus is still alive. Revelation 1:18 reads, "I am the living one. I died, but look, I am alive forever and ever, and I hold the keys of death and the grave." The bunny won't tell you about the price, the power, and other important points regarding the resurrection. However, this week, while you are enjoying the commercialism of Easter, please remember the true significance of this day is the resurrection of Jesus Christ and what it means to those who believe and receive. That's His Lines. For Overlooked Headlines, I'm Jeff Bass, keeping you informed and inspired. Stay blessed.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you've been informed and inspired. Like us, tell a friend, and connect with us via Facebook, YouTube, or email us at neveroverlooked@gmail.com. That's neveroverlooked@gmail.com. Check us out next time on Overlooked Headlines with Jeff Bass.